Now, this might not make sense when you first look at it, but weight painting is basically very, very similar to painting that we just did, but this time we can actually apply different effects to the areas that are painted. So not only can you apply a material with a regular brush in the previous setting, which is our paint setting, but in the weight paint setting, we can actually apply modifiers, particle systems, hair. Let's go ahead and explore this. Let's go ahead and start off by adding a plane onto our scene here. All right, I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to subdivide this maybe 3 or 4 times here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and tab out of edit mode. Time to add our dynamic paint canvas. Click on add canvas. Now instead of paint, we're going to choose weight right here. All right, now that we have weight, go ahead and click on this little plus sign down here to add our vertex group. And to verify that that worked, you can go down here to our data properties, this little green symbol, and you can see our vertex group right here. Now that's pretty much all we need to do for the dynamic paint canvas. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our brush, and you can add anything you want. I think for this example, I'll add in a sphere, scale it down quite a bit, add in our dynamic paint, this time brush, and click on add brush, and then we should be good to go. Now at this point, we're actually going to be able to paint using our weight. But first, let's go ahead and animate this sphere. I'm going to move this back on the x-axis. Now, right now, I'm at about 70 frames on my timeline. I'm going to go ahead and click on my sphere, insert a keyframe here. I'm just going to move to the very end, and I'm going to move my sphere maybe towards the end right here. Press I. Now I have 2 keyframes on my timeline, and we can see our sphere is moving across very nicely. Now, this is so that we can easily see what's actually happening. Now, in order to actually see the effect, I'm going to go ahead and click on my plane. I'm going to switch over to weight paint mode, and you'll see as I press play, we're actually painting in weight paint mode. So this is what is actually happening. We're basically painting on this surface very similarly to what we did before, but now we can take this data and we can do something with it. So let's go ahead and switch back to object mode. Let's press play, or let's press pause here. Click on our plane. Let's go to our modifiers, and let's add a modifier. How about we add something simple, like the solidify modifier? Now, you can see that we can solidify our cube, or sorry, our plane here and make it look kind of like a cube, and if I press play, nothing really happens. But what we can do is we can take this data, and just to show you one more time, we can take this data from our weight paint, so all of this information that's traveling with the sphere, and we can apply it to that solidify modifier. So let's go back to object mode, and you'll see within our modifier, there's this little area that says vertex group. If we click on that, we can select our DP underscore weight vertex group. And now when we go back and we press play, you'll notice that we're solidifying those specific areas that the sphere travels through. In order to see this a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and click on this drop down. I'm going to click on cavity. And now you can really see where this sphere is affecting everything. Notice how we're applying the solidify modifier only to where the sphere traveled. So instead of applying a shader or a material, we can actually solidify the plane in just the areas that we want to. Let me show you another example with the wireframe modifier. I'm going to go ahead and click on this X to remove my modifier. I'm going to generate a wireframe. Now you'll notice nothing happens yet if we press play, and that's because we haven't assigned our vertex group to this specific modifier. I'm going to go ahead and pop open this drop down that says vertex group, click in this little black box, and I'm going to select DP weight, and then I'm going to exclude replace original right here because we don't want to replace the whole plane. Now if we press play, you'll notice that we're now adding a wireframe on top of our plane. And this is really cool. You can begin to see how cool these effects can be and what you can really create with this vertex paint method, or sorry, weight paint method. And again, you guys can do whatever you want. I'll show you one more quick example. If we want to, we can get rid of this modifier. We can go into our particle settings, and we can add in a hair system. So I'll just click on this plus, switch this to hair. Now that we have our hair system, we'll go ahead and scroll down. We'll go to vertex groups. And then for density and length, we're going to choose that DP weight option. Now you'll see that there's hair, but it's only where the sphere is. So let's go ahead and press play and let's see what happens. You'll notice that we're actually adding hair where the sphere travels. Again, we're basically taking that information from the plane. Let me go back to our weight paint. Okay, we're taking that information, that kind of color information, and we're actually applying it to something that we can create an effect with. which could be a modifier, a hair system, a particle setting, and potentially even force fields and other materials. Right now, though, I think the coolest thing to do is personally adding modifiers. I think it looks awesome. Hair could be a very cool one too if you want to have sort of a hair growth effect or maybe have a hair removal effect. There's a lot of amazing things that you can do with this. Play around with it and have fun.